Welcome back, everyone, to Unwrapped, your place for, well, everything, BMX and the awesome base ecosystem. Super excited today.
Yeah, me too. We've got something pretty cool cooking.
We really do. We're kicking off a two-part deep dive into something we've built here at BMX.
Now, just a quick heads up before we dive in today, super important. Nothing we talk about here is financial advice.
Absolutely. This discussion about wBLT is purely educational.
Yeah.
It's just us sharing information within the Unwrapped context.
Exactly. We're just exploring ideas.
That's right. We're here to, break down these concepts and hopefully make them a bit clearer for you.
All right, perfect. For a long time, it feels like you've kind of got this tricky choice, right?
Uh-huh. What's that?
Either your crypto just sits there doing nothing, or you're jumping through all these hoops, these complex DeFi strategies that honestly take up so much time to manage.
Oh, definitely. We hear that a lot from the community. People want their assets working, but keeping track of everything, rebalancing.
Yeah,
it can feel like a second job.
exactly. So we're really pumped to talk about wBLT today. Okay, so where do we start? The foundation, right?
Yeah.
BLT itself.
Exactly. You got to understand BLT first because it's the engine behind wBLT.
The engine on.
Think of BLT as like an on-chain index fund.
Okay, an on-chain index fund. Let's unpack that a bit. What's inside this fund?
So BLT holds a mix. We've carefully selected what we see as, strong assets.
Like the big ones.
Yeah, definitely ETH and BTC.
Oh, yeah.
But also stable coins like USDC.
Okay.
And some promising tokens that are native to Base itself.
Interesting mix. Is there a specific ratio?
It's structured roughly 50-50.
50-50? Between what?
Between those more volatile majors, ETH and BTC, and the stable assets. We're aiming for some balance there.
Got it. So a diverse collection. Now, the key question, how does this collection actually get bigger? How does it grow?
Right. That's the core mechanism. BLT is designed to constantly accumulate value.
Accumulate how?
Imagine like a tiny, tiny fee, a micro fee almost, flowing into BLT.
From where?
From all sorts of activity. On the BMX platform mostly.
Like trades.
Yep, every token swap. Fees from NFT trades too. Even a slice from leveraged positions on BMX.
Okay, so platform usage directly feeds it.
Exactly. And it even goes beyond BMX sometimes. You have these decentralized exchange aggregators.
Like 0x or Odos.
Right. If they route a trade through BLT because it offers the best price.
Then BLT gets a fee from that too.
Precisely. All these little streams constantly add to the underlying BLT pool.
That feels different. It's not based on just printing more tokens, is it?
No, exactly. That's the fundamental shift. It's driven by real economic activity, real usage, which, feels more sustainable.
Yeah, definitely more sustainable. Okay, so that's BLT, the growing pool. Where does wBLT come in?
Okay, so wBLT, the W is for wrapped.
When you deposit certain approved assets like your ETH or BTC into that BLT vault,
Yep.
you get wBLT back. You can think of wBLT as basically your digital receipt.
Yeah, think of it like that. It's your claim on a portion of that growing BLT collection.
Flexible, and it grows.
And here's the really neat part. This receipt, your wBLT, automatically increases in value relative to BLT.
Automatically growing. Okay, now I've got my attention. How does that work?
Well, remember all those fees constantly flowing into the BLT vault.
Yeah, the tiny cuts from trades and things.
They don't just sit there. The smart contract automatically uses those collected fees to buy more of the underlying assets held in BLT. More ETH, more BTC, more stables. Exactly. It's all handled by the contract. Transparent, automated.
That sounds incredibly efficient.
Yeah.
So for me, holding wBLT, I don't need to do anything.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You don't need to click claim. You don't need to manage anything complex.
It just happens.
It just happens. The ratio of BLT backing each wBLT just increases over time. Your slice of the pie gets thicker, basically.
So my wBLT represents more and more BLT as time goes on.
That's a perfect way to put it. And this is super important to understand.
Okay, what's the catch? Or the nuance?
The nuance, exactly. While your wBLT is always worth more BLT over time, the actual dollar value of your wBLT isn't guaranteed to go straight up.
Right. Because the underlying assets, ETH, BTC, they still move with the market.
Precisely.
It grows its share of the pool, but the pool's overall market value can still change. Got it.
You got it. It tracks the underlying assets, plus gets that extra boost from the fees.
Cool. Now let's maybe dig a little deeper into those fee sources. You mentioned a few.
Yeah, definitely. The fee accumulation is tied directly to real activity, mostly on Base via BMX.
So we said token swaps.
Token swaps, yes.
Yeah.
Trading with leverage, when people borrow to trade bigger positions, fees from that.
Right.
NFT trading fees on BMX. even liquidations.
Liquidations too. Wow.
Yeah, when a leveraged position gets closed out automatically, a fee associated with that also contributes.
So pretty much any core activity on the platform is generating these fees for holders indirectly through wBLT.
That's the idea. But like I said, it's not just BMX.
Right, the aggregators.
The aggregators, yeah. Like ZeroX, Odos, they're basically search engines for finding the best swap prices across different decentralized exchanges.
Okay.
And if BLT happens to offer the best rate for, say, swapping USDC to ETH.
They'll route the trade through BLT.
Exactly. And BLT earns a fee, just like it was a native BMX swap.
That's clever. It taps into wider network liquidity flow.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned there are other ways to use wBLT. Optional things.
Right. You can potentially boost things further. Like you could provide liquidity using your wBLT on a decentralized exchange.
Okay.
Or use it as collateral on a lending platform like Morpho.
And even while it's doing that, being used elsewhere.
It still keeps compounding in the background.
Yeah.
The fee accrual doesn't stop just because you're using the wBLT somewhere else.
That's powerful. It's still working for you.
It really is. And just to give you a sense of the efficiency,
Right.
I mean, we've seen situations where a vault with, say, under $5 million in assets has accrued over $2 million in fees.
Wow. Just from these activity streams. No extra token printing.
Exactly. Purely driven by real usage. That's what gets us excited about this model.
Real utility driving real growth. Okay, that leads nicely into composability. You mentioned using it elsewhere.
Yeah, composability is huge in DeFi, right?
Definitely. Being able to plug things together.
And wBLT is designed for that. It's a standard ERC20 token.
Meaning it plays well with others.
Exactly. Like Lego bricks. Because it's ERC20, it works with standard wallets, exchanges, and importantly, other DeFi protocols on Base.
So you're not locked into just holding it?
Not at all. You could pair it with, say, ETH in a liquidity pool on a decentralized exchange.
Right. Provide liquidity.
Or use it as collateral, borrow against it on Morpho or similar platforms.
And the key thing you mentioned, it still keeps growing its BLT value while doing that.
That's the magic. It doesn't lose its auto-compounding feature. So imagine using wBLT as collateral to borrow USDC on Morpho.
Okay.
Your collateral, the wBLT, is still quietly getting thicker in the background as fees accumulate.
So the growth of my collateral could actually help offset the interest I'm paying on the loan?
Potentially, yeah. Over time, that growth can make a difference. It's like your collateral is working for you in two ways: capital efficiency.
That opens up a lot of interesting possibilities. Okay, so for someone listening now thinking, all right, this sounds interesting, how do I actually get some wBLT?
Good question. It's pretty straightforward. Two main ways.
Okay, number one.
Easiest way. Just swap for it directly on a decentralized exchange that lists wBLT, like you'd swap any other token.
Simple enough. Buy it on the open market. What's the second way?
The second way is a two-step process.
Okay.
First, you deposit one of the underlying assets, ETH, BTC, USDC, whatever BLT accepts, into the BLT Vault itself.
And you get BLT back for that.
Correct. You receive BLT tokens. Then, step two, you take that BLT and deposit it into the wrapping contract.
The W part.
Exactly. You wrap your BLT and you get wBLT back.
Got it. So direct swap on a decentralized exchange or deposit assets for BLT, then wrap the BLT into wBLT. Clear. Now, you used an analogy earlier, the toll booth. Can we revisit that? Sometimes analogies help things click.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine you own a small piece of a busy toll booth.
Okay, I own part of a toll booth on a highway.
A swap, an NFT trade, leverage activity is like a car passing through.
And it pays a small toll, a fee.
Right. Now, here's the key. Instead of the toll booth owner just pocketing those fees, the toll booth automatically uses that money to buy more concrete, more signs, more lanes, basically more of the stuff the highway's made of.
Representing the underlying assets in BLT, the ETH, BTC, stables.
Precisely. So the toll booth infrastructure itself is constantly growing because the collected tolls are reinvested. You benefit from the traffic, the activity, and the automatic reinvestment.
And crucially, like you said, the growth comes from real tolls, real fees, not from just printing more toll booth participation tokens.
Exactly. It's tied to actual on-chain economic activity.
Love it. Okay, so let's try and wrap up part one here. For everyone listening, what are the main takeaways about wBLT so far?
Okay, key things to remember. One, single token, wBLT, gives you exposure to a whole basket of assets: ETH, BTC, stables, base natives, diversification.
Got it. One token, many assets.
2, automatic growth. Those protocol fees get reinvested automatically. increasing the BLT, backing your wBLT. No manual claiming needed. Set and forget, almost.
Growth from real activity.
Nice.
3. Composability. It's a standard ERC20, so you can use it across other DeFi apps, and it still keeps growing in the background.
Doesn't lose its superpower when you use it elsewhere.
Exactly. 4. Fees from actual usage, not inflationary token emissions. That's a big one for sustainability, we think.
Yeah, feels much more solid.
And maybe 5. Just remember, BLT is the underlying vault, the index itself. wBLT is your receipt for your portion of that vault.
Perfect summary. So really, wBLT seems like a unique and honestly quite an elegant way to potentially tap into the energy and the growth of the whole base network.
We think so. It feels very aligned with, the positive vibes we're trying to build.
Totally. It lets your assets potentially grow just from the background hum of activity. Without you having to constantly chase the next complex strategy. It benefits from the ecosystem just being active.
Definitely something for you, the listener, to think about. Holding a piece of the network's activity stream, in a way.
Yeah, it's a cool concept when growth is tied directly to utility.
Absolutely. Well, this has been super insightful for part 1.
Glad we could start breaking it down.
That brings us to the end of this first part of our wBLT deep dive. Definitely make sure you join us for part 2.
Yeah, we've got more to cover. We'll explore some other angles.
More aspects of this really innovative token right here on Unwrapped. We'll keep those base vibes flowing.
Looking forward to it.